The world went black when they threw the sack over my head. I was blind and disoriented. My heart raced as I struggled to make sense of my surroundings. All I could hear was the muffled sounds of their laughter and whispered threats. A sharp pain surged through my head as they shoved me into the cramped space of a car trunk. Panic clawed at my chest as I realized the horrifying truth. I had been kidnapped. The trunk was suffocating, my limbs cramped, my breathing shallow. I wriggled my hands, feeling for anything that might help me escape. My fingers brushed against something cold and metallic, hoping it was something I could fight off my attackers with. Hours passed in that stifling darkness, my vision playing tricks on me like I was hallucinating. The car's engine rumbled on, the vibrations coursing through my body. I had no idea where they were taking me or what they wanted. Fear gnawed at my sanity as I contemplated the gruesome possibilities. The car finally came to a stop and I held my breath. I heard their voices again, low and menacing, discussing their plans. It was then that I realized the extent of my peril. They had taken me to some remote location, far from help or civilization. The trunk creaked open, and a blinding light seared through the cracks in the sack. I squinted against the sudden brightness, trying to make out my captors. They were grotesque, their faces hidden behind masks that grinned with sick and tormented intent. They dragged me from the trunk. I could feel every rock and twig scratching at my legs, cutting and scraping. The tire iron slipped from my hand, and I watched it clatter to the ground, just out of reach. I was defenseless, at their mercy. My would-be captors just laughed at the thought of fighting back. One of them, the tallest, stepped forward. His mask resembled a cheap department store children's mask, and his eyes gleamed with sadistic pleasure. He spoke with a gravelly voice that sent shivers down my spine. "Welcome to our little game," he sneered. "You're the star and we're the audience." The others laughed, their laughter echoing through the desolate landscape. I was overwhelmed by a sense of dread, a sinking feeling that there was no escape from this nightmare. They led me to a decaying barn, its wooden beams groaning with age. Inside, the air was thick with the stench of decay, and the walls adorned with gruesome paintings of death and torture. It was a chamber of horrors, a sanctuary where nightmares were brought to life. They tied me to a rusted chair, wrists and ankles bound with thick and coarse rope. I struggled against my restraints, but it was futile. The masked figures circled me, their glee palpable. The torment began slowly. Each capture whispered threats and taunts, their voices like daggers in my ears. They showed me instruments of torture, each more horrifying than the last. The leader, I presume, by the call-outs to the others, approached me, brandishing a scalpel. "Let's see how much you bleed," he hissed. My screams echoed through the barn as the scalpel sliced into my flesh. I felt each inch of the blade run longer and deeper into my thigh. They revelled in my pain, their sadistic joy fueling their brutality. Hours fell into an eternity as they subjected me to unimaginable torment. I prayed for death, for release from this living hell. But they had other plans. They carved symbols into my skin, things I didn't understand, and chanted in an otherworldly language. The air crackled with an unnatural energy, and I felt something sinister lurking in the shadows. Shadows danced on the walls, and the air hummed with energy like the feeling of a lightning storm. I knew then that I was not the first to suffer in this cursed place, and I wouldn't be the last. With each flash of an old lantern above the barn door, I could catch a glimpse of what I would describe as trophies from their kills. Just when I thought I could take no more, the man with the child's mask approached me, a gleeful glint in his eyes. He leaned in close, his hot breath on my ear. "You see," he whispered, "we don't want to kill you just yet. No, we want to break you, to make you one of us." With a sudden, savage force, he drove the scalpel into my eye. Agony engulfed me, and I screamed until my voice was raw. Darkness closed in around me. I felt the world going black like the outro of a 1920s silent film. I prayed this was the end. No more suffering. To my dread, I awoke, but I was alone in the barn, my tormentors gone. My body was broken, my mind shattered. I was no longer the person I had once been. I was a survivor, a witness to the depths of human depravity. As I stumbled out of that barn and into the light of day, I knew the nightmare would never truly end. No one would believe what I saw or felt in this horrific place. My legs gashed in places where I could see whites of bone. Blinded in my left eye, bleeding instead of crying. What have I done? What did I do to deserve this?